Manchester United 4, Athletic Bilbao 1. Manchester United are going through to the final of the Europa League as 7-1 semi-final aggregate winners. It was really, really easy for United, except it wasn't. Now, before we talk about anything over there on the tactics board, the first thing we do need to remember here is the context of this football match. United come into the game 3-0 up. Athletic Bilbao come into the game weak without some of their best players. And I think always that is going to create a bit of a weird football match because all the pressure is on Bilbao to be expressive and to attack us, but they were missing their quality attackers. This wasn't necessarily a game where United had to ask all the questions of the opposition, although we might still like that. But this meant that early on, and I say early on, it sort of continued for the first hour of the game, Bilbao were the dominant side. They were the team able to knock the ball about, move the ball forward, and sort of ask the questions of United. The way they did this was by playing the ball out from the back and taking advantage of United's pretty poor high press. And as much as I say a poor high press, I would say more than anything, it was a slightly confused high press. Certain players didn't seem to be particularly clear on what their role was. You see, Bilbao would play the ball towards the left-hand side, and from here, what United want to do initially was quite obvious. Garnacho would come over to the left-back, that makes a lot of sense. Højlund is going to come over to the centre-back, and Bruno will do the same. And of course, United are going to try and match up in midfield. The problem was, there were situations where we were just late here, and we didn't get there in time on the press, and Bilbao had the extra midfielder and carried the ball forward. That was one big problem that we had. But the other problem that we faced was with Dorgu on the other side. You see, as Bilbao would then work the ball from the left, round to the right towards the right-hand side, this is when Dorgu would then jump from his wing-back position into more of this position here. And for United now, as Euro moves across, it sort of looks more like a 4-4-2. Now, initially that's fine, that's a good pressing shape for United to do, I would encourage us to do that. The problem was, when Bilbao then continued to play, Dorgu didn't seem as though he knew where he was meant to be playing, because he was late to this jump initially, which meant that Bilbao could play the ball around him, and then he didn't know where he was meant to go and defend. Was he meant to stay in his 4-4-2 and play as like a wide midfielder, or was he meant to drop into the wing-back position? And that confusion from Dorgu just meant that Bilbao were able to really get a foothold in this game for the first hour and control the ball for large parts. You can see it here. United pressing, like we've said, Garnacho, Højlund, Bruno Fernandes all reasonably high. But as the opposition work the ball backwards and then eventually go long, you can just see Dorgu's positioning in this situation here. He's not a wing-back, he's a little bit higher. He's sort of like a wide midfielder in this position. But the problem is, as the ball comes across, you know, he's just been pressing high. He's now got to go and press deeper, or go and drop deeper. And it's quite a difficult role for him to do, because in one moment he's super high on the opposition fullback, the next moment he's got to be deep on the opposition winger. And that's really quite difficult for Dorgu to do. And in this particular moment here, you can sort of see the confusion in what he's doing, because he ends up here for some reason, and he just shouldn't really be there. And of course, it leaves all the room out wide, and Dorgu with a lot of ground to cover. But that's why Bilbao could get territory in this game, because it was quite easy to progress through the pitch. We've got another example of this here. Dorgu on the left-hand side, initially reasonably high, much higher than, you know, being connected with the back line. But he wants to be connected with the back line. You can see here, eventually, he drops deeper. He tracks back, and the reason he does that is because he wants to be connected with the rest of his defence. The problem is, Bruno Fernandes is still pressing as though he is one of the advanced players, and United are trying to engage high. So Bruno's gone high, Dorgu's gone deep, and that means we again leave all of this space on the side of our defence. Now, again, you know, in a game like this, I guess it is acceptable. If you just look at Bruno there, though, you can see the confusion. He's not happy with what's going on. Bruno Fernandes knows this isn't quite right. And this was the problem for United, a bit of confusion. And like I was just saying, it's okay in this game because we're 3-0 up. So we can be a little bit more passive. We can sit back. We can let Bilbao try and dominate and ask the questions. But I just don't think, as United fans, it's how we really want our side to play. What we want to see more of from United is United on the front foot asking the questions of the opposition, you know, challenging Bilbao. We're 3-0 up. Let's play with an arrogance. Let's play with a swagger. And at times in the first half we were able to do that, particularly on the transition. We have two amazing opportunities. Garnacho should maybe come away with 2 goals. I don't know that either of them are super easy chances, but he should score, or United should score from one of these opportunities, right? These positions we should score. United always had the threat in this game, and I think that's what makes this just a little bit frustrating, because we saw a United side that sat off a little bit, were a little bit passive, for large parts of the game. But every time we did get the ball, we looked so much better than Bilbao. We looked like a team that could hurt them every time we got the ball, particularly with Dorgu. You know, defensively, he was just now the one that struggled, but on the ball, he was a massive weapon for United in this game. And the reason for that is because Bilbao defend in a back four, and United attack in a front five. And that means that the likes of Bruno Fernandes and Dorgu can sort of go 2 versus 1 against a Bilbao fullback. And this is why I found the first hour quite frustrating. Yes, we weren't in a rush because we were already winning 3-0 and then 3-1. But for me, it would have been nice to see United taking the game to Bilbao a little bit more, really pushing forward, because eventually we saw that with the substitutes, right? We saw Ugarte came off, we saw Bruno Fernandes go deeper, which immediately is going to make us more attacking. We saw Mazraoui come off for sure, which again is an attacking upgrade. Dorgu came to the right-hand side. And we also saw, I've lost him, we saw Mason Mount onto the pitch, and we also saw Ahmad on the pitch as well. Is that too many subs? I don't think so. But just immediately, United look more attacking. United have got more attacking profiles on the pitch, and you can see the momentum swing straight away. As soon as these subs happen, you can see the momentum swing in this football match, because United were suddenly getting on the ball and playing in the front foot. And like I said, what's annoying is that we were able to do this earlier in the game, we just sort of chose not to. We can see this here, you know, with someone like Dorgu and Ahmad on the same side of the pitch as each other, they want to make things happen. They want to be attacking, they want to attack the opposition defence. I think Ahmad in particular is very confrontational when he has the ball. Very, very confrontational. He's not a player who's just happy to play sideways. He picks the ball up in these positions and he wants to attack players, and he's special. Ahmad is very, 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 very good. This is a man who hasn't played regularly for about 3 months now, and he comes into the team and just performs this well. We can see that cutback pattern that we've been talking about recently. Really good from United. We don't quite get the contact here from Mason Mount, but we sort of recycle the move down the left-hand side, and Lenny Yoro comes forward. That's a big part of what we were doing later on in the game. We were being aggressive. We were playing on the front foot. And again, we were 3-0 up already, so we didn't have to be overly aggressive in this game. But for me, as a United fan at Old Trafford against a weaker side, I think we can do this from a lot earlier in the game. I genuinely believe we have the personnel to do this. Because Yoro now, being much more expressive, playing much higher up the pitch, and it's that allows us to sustain this attack, get the ball to Mason Mount, and I mean, the rest from him is just absolute magic. Now, like I said earlier, what was almost frustrating about this for me is that we could have done this throughout the game because we showed it in glimpses. For example, here in the first half, Bruno Fernandes and Dorgu 2v1ing the fullback on the left-hand side. Bruno Fernandes with no time is a great player. Bruno Fernandes with a lot of time is always going to find this pass, and it's a great pass in behind the defence. Dorgu gets into this position and nearly wins a penalty. So we can see that when United did go forward, even during the poor phases of the game, when we did attack, we looked like we could hurt Bilbao. I'd love to see us doing this more regularly, because in the second half, when we went for this game, you know, we were 1-0 down, trying to get back into it. At this point, we're 2-1 up and we're confident. But when we went for Bilbao, we had far too much for them. You can see again, Dorgu and Ahmad on the right-hand side, linking up really well. Might need to do a video on that, because you see Dorgu comes inside the pitch, Ahmad goes round the outside, the two-way threat from both players, Ahmad towards the byline. And what I love here is that Ahmad doesn't panic. That's that extra bit of quality he's got. A lot of players would just hit this first time across the box, but Ahmad takes the extra touch towards the byline because he trusts his touch, his control, his dribbling. He gets to the byline, puts a great ball across the box for Rasmus Højlund. We score that goal. Of course, Mason Mount scores a goal from near the halfway line, and in the end, it's a very, very easy day for United. So it's a weird one to sit here and judge, because I think everyone will agree that for 60, 65 minutes, we didn't play very well, yet we come away as 4-1 winners. And we were already 3-0 up before even starting the match. That's why it's a little bit of a difficult one to judge, because how do you judge that? You're 3-0 up, you've won 7-1 without ever really playing amazing attacking football. We dismantled the best defence in La Liga without really getting out of first gear until the last 20 minutes. So for United, I think we saw more of what we've seen a lot of this season. A team being too passive. The mentality, for me, being wrong. We didn't need, in my opinion, 3 centre-backs, 2 full-backs, 2 ball-winning midfielders. For me, we can take the handbrake off a little bit. I would love Amorim to do that a little bit more. Perhaps he will next season. Perhaps we will see that more in the future when he's got his squad a little bit more. But personally, I'm of the belief that we can see it now, because we saw it late on against Lyon. We take the handbrake off, we go more attacking, we score loads of goals. We saw it last night against Bilbao. We take the handbrake off, we go more attacking, we can score a lot of goals. So I would love for United to do this more regularly, because clearly we've got the players that can do it. So those are my thoughts on the game. Good enough from United. 4-1 win. Happy days. We can't complain too much. We're through to the Europa League final. But I still think we can do a little bit better in terms of the way we approach a 90-minute match rather than sort of 20-minute spells of the match. That's what needs to change. We need to take those last 20 minutes and stretch it into a full performance. But in terms of taking this game as a one-off, we just won 4-1 in a semi-final, so I can't really complain anymore. I'm very, very happy for us to be through to the final. So happy for Mason Mount. So, that's it for today's video. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like, subscribe, notifications, all of that stuff. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.